everybody, and welcome once again to Real Shame. It is a weekly show where the two of us discuss with you, the viewing public, about all the movies that we have not seen that we have on our list of shame. That's movies that are popular or classics or whatever that we haven't seen. My name is Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And today we are going to talk about a movie that I have not seen, 2004's Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. But before we get into before we get into that discussion, we always like to talk about what we've been watching since the last time we filmed. So, Adam, what have you been watching lately?
It's a good question. It's always a good question.
Yes.
So Kirby and I have been continuing her journey on 90s movies that she hasn't seen because we know that, well, have I said, and as you know, she's a big 90s movie buff. So last time we talked, I think we talked about her watching Under Siege. Mm-hmm. So I showed her the sequel, Under Siege 2.
Okay.
And she was, it's not as good as Under Siege, but
I agree.
It's fun. Some of it's fun. I feel like Under Siege 2, Steven Seagal just didn't want to do a lot of movement. So like anytime you see him running, he's more like shuffling along and stuff. And I think a lot of the camera work was obscuring his lack of movement and motivation and stuff like that. We also watched Airport 77.
Oh, okay. Another disaster movie.
Another disaster movie. She really wanted to watch this for some reason, and it's hilarious, and it's bad, and it's a crazy movie. It's so weird and out there and just funny. And basically, like, the premise of that movie is that the airplane, I think, gets struck by lightning, and it goes underwater. And so it's like they're trapped underneath, like they're trapped inside the hull of the plane while water's trying to seep in and kill them.
It doesn't get hit by lightning. Oh. They are trying to go under the radar, and they get lost in the Bermuda Triangle and hit an oil rig.
They hit an oil rig?
God, get the plot right, Adam. Jeez.
I don't know what I watched. Maybe I watched something else. But this plane's like full of like priceless artifacts and stuff like that. It's
of course.
So it's a strange movie. Awesome
movie.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the one thing I learned is I always thought the Bermuda Triangle was like over like near Europe, like near the Mediterranean Sea or near like the Philippines and stuff like that. But no, it's actually like...
It's near Bermuda.
It's near Bermuda. It's the name. It shows you how educated I am. So, and then the last thing I want to talk about is, and we kind of talked about this ourselves, is that I actually watched Hereditary and Midsommar.
Oh, you watched Midsommar too?
I watched both.
I knew you watched Hereditary.
So Kirby watched them with me, which was really surprising. So there's this podcast that started up this summer that uses the same host from Reply All. So PJ Vogt and Alex Goldman started because PJ is scared of horror movies. And so Alex was going to do like immersion therapy and make him watch a bunch of horror movies so he can get over his horror movies. Because what happens is
nice.
PJ hears about all these movies like Get Out and like Us and all these well-received, well-reviewed, Midsommar movies, and he wants to see them, but he's scared of horror movies. So PJ feels like, the best.
How old is this guy?
He's like our age.
Okay.
So one thing about that podcast is called Scaredy Cat's Horror Movie Guide, I think. There's only 5 episodes, and that's very disappointing. Like, I am very frustrated that they did 5 episodes. They did Exorcist, they did Nightmare on Elm Street, they did Alien, they did Midsommar, and Hereditary, and the last one's Get Out. And I feel like there was a lot of build-up and not a lot of episodes, so I wish like it was an ongoing series. But I've seen all those movies except for Hereditary and Midsommar. So before I listened to the podcast, I wanted to watch those 2 movies. So refresh me on what you thought about Hereditary and Midsommar.
I love Hereditary. I think Hereditary is the best horror film I've seen in years. I did not like Midsommar much at all.
Yeah. So I feel like I did, Kirby...
So they're trying to hold it together.
Yeah, she's trying to hold it together. I feel like I did myself a disservice when we watched Hereditary, because we watched it like during the day, and it wasn't like dark out or anything like that. And honestly, that movie had like no effect on me whatsoever. I actually found it... I was laughing the whole time because it just like, I could see the wires, right? I could see like the reason why I was laughing was I could see the intent and everything behind it, and the whole time it was like my mind was reading the meta-ness of the whole movie, like saying, oh, he's doing this, you know, Ari Aster's doing this because he wants this and all that kind of stuff, and it just like I wasn't ever immersed in the whole movie. So everything that I saw as just like funny because it was just like expecting it, and I kind of, does that make sense?
It does, but I thought that you actually knew a lot about Hereditary before you watched
and
it.
That's the other thing,
like
too.
The plot and stuff already, so I feel like that kind of spoils it. So
100% agree, because I didn't know when I was going to see it, and we kind of talked about sometimes when I listen to reviews, or when I want to listen to reviews, if it's a movie I'm not interested in, I'm just going to listen to a review anyways. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely was spoiled going into it, and I knew what the movie was about before I watched it. And then
I've never heard someone laugh so hard at people dying.
Yeah.
Before.
I mean, there's
you've seen movies with me.
Yeah.
I do that.
This was worse.
I do that.
I mean, there's a Rambo Last Blood thing that goes on in Midsommar, or not Midsommar, in Hereditary, and I just had flashbacks to Rambo Last Blood.
I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you're talking
about. Yeah. I mean, it's like there's two scenes that are identical.
Yeah.
And then to contrast that with, I was terrified.
Yeah, Kirby was just scared shitless. And the other thing that and I feel like I'm going on too long, so I'm going to try to wrap it up quick, is, and I think we've talked about this, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, is, for me, different horror things scare me differently, right? So my big example is, I can't remember the movie right now, but there's a horror movie I watched where it all clicked in, where the whole movie I am terrified of what's going to happen. Like I feel like that anxiousness, and I feel nervous the whole time. And then as soon as the movie says it's something supernatural, all that just kind of washed away.
Yeah.
And I wasn't scared at all anymore, even though the whole movie was building up to that, right? So for me, I feel like religious horror, which is, Hereditary, and then supernatural horror just don't affect me at all. Like, I don't find that terrifying. And, that probably goes in with my belief structure and all that kind of stuff. But I don't find that stuff terrifying. And I think that was also another reason why Hereditary didn't really work for me, because it's, there's ghosts and supernatural elements to it and stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What about Midsommar?
Midsommar is definitely not a horror movie. Like, I don't think it's trying to be a horror movie.
I don't think it's a horror movie either.
I had a lot of trepidation going into it because also another thing is I knew a lot about Midsommar before I went into it. So the finding out how the main girl's family passed away, like I was really nervous on how graphic or horrifying that was going to be. And then I know how her boyfriend died in the end. Oh, spoiler alert. I know what happens. Sorry. I know what happens to him, his fate, right?
Yeah.
And I knew the grand strokes that happened there, so I was worried about how graphic that would be. And the movie is just, I think I liked it better than Hereditary in the fact that, to me, it was more surprising than Hereditary was. So I don't know if that's because I knew less about it, or because Midsommar wasn't trying to be a horror film in my eyes. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the horror elements that didn't work for me in Hereditary, since Midsommar didn't have those, that worked for me more, But that all being said, is the next Ari Aster movie, I'm going to go in with you, hopefully, completely blind, and hopefully be able to experience it for how it is, because I think he's a good filmmaker. I liked what I saw. I just wish I had the same reactions that everyone else did about loving these movies, but unfortunately, because of my own doing a little bit, I don't think I did.
I think Hereditary is great. I didn't like Midsommar, so I really hope that he doesn't turn out to be like a one-hit wonder to me anyway. And if his next film is 4 hours or whatever that like he's teasing, I'm not watching that. Or at least I'm not watching that in the theater. I might watch that at home, but I seriously doubt it's going to be that long.
So.
And also, Midsommar, it drew inevitable comparisons to The Wicker Man, not the abomination that is the Nicolas Cage one, but the one with Edward Woodward and Christopher Lee. And I totally agree. The original Wicker Man, is way, way better than Midsommar. I did not care for Midsommar.
Well, I haven't seen The Wicker Man, so maybe that's something we can watch. And I don't know. I know there's a part with bees, but I think that's I don't know if that's both of them, or if that's the Nicolas Cage one.
I think it's just Nicolas Cage. I don't remember that in the original one. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I don't remember that at all. And that whole God. I don't think I've even seen the Nicolas Cage one. I've just seen like the best of clips, and that just makes me not want to watch it. But I've heard that it's fun to watch, like with your friends, just laugh at the whole time. Yeah. So maybe we could do that too.
All right. So that's sorry for the long on what I've been watching. Andy, what have you been watching?
So I have watched. Actually, I had a long kind of thing as well, but I might save that. I think I'll save that actually for the next time we do this. But I watched Haywire with
Gina Carano.
Steven Soderbergh's Haywire.
I like that movie.
I do too. I like Gina Carano. I think she's a kick-ass action star. She can't act her way out of a paper bag. I think we all know that. And I understand that there was a lot of kind of ADR and kind of dialogue overdub or something after the movie was wrapped because they didn't really like her performance.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So, I mean, I believe it. I didn't really notice it during the movie, but I tend to not notice those things anyway because I'm kind of oblivious. But I liked it. I thought it was a brisk kind of movie. You know, she kicks ass.
Her fight with Michael Fassbender in the hotel room.
Yeah.
Standout fight.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I like her. I feel like she didn't have a lot to do in The Mandalorian, or she doesn't do a lot of hand-to-hand combat in Mandalorian. It's mainly like she shoots stuff or whatever. I wish that they would kind of do more hand-to-hand stuff with her in The Mandalorian. I watched Fierce Creatures, which is like a spiritual kind of sequel to Fish Called Wanda. It has the same cast. Unfortunately, it's not nearly as funny as A Fish Called Wanda. I really didn't care for it. I think that's the first time I've ever seen it. I watched a Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I watched a really cheap knockoff of that Roger Corman produced called Bloodfist on Amazon Prime. And on Amazon Prime, they have every Bloodfist. There's like 7 sequels or something ridiculous, and they all have Don the Dragon Wilson. It is awful. But I've actually heard that the sequels are a lot better than the first movie.
So that kind of reminds me, Scott Adkins, who's a fighter, stunt choreographer, he's in all the Undisputed movies. Mm-hmm. And Wired has put a bunch of interviews with him talking about those movies, and it's made me want to watch the Undisputed movies because of that.
Yeah.
So, but also Bloodfist sounds awesome, and I love those kind of movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good, but I mean, I guess I got a few laughs out of it. And then finally, because I'm going to skip the other thing and go over it next time, I watched Stone Cold, which has but it has Brian Bosworth in it. So Brian Bosworth was like a star football player for Oklahoma University back in the 80s. And then he went to the NFL, and he was kind of a bust in the NFL. So I think he only lasted maybe 3 seasons. Our sports fans are going to get mad at me, but I think it's like 3 seasons in the NFL. I should have written that down. But anyway, he was out of the NFL by the time this movie came out. But I gotta say, I wish that he would have been a bigger action star than he was, because he's not that bad in this movie. Stone Cold was his first action movie. He didn't make another. He still made some movies after that, and as far as I know, he might even be making movies now. I don't know, but this movie has Lance Henriksen in it. You can't go wrong with Lance Henriksen.
Love Lance Henriksen.
But basically, he plays a cop who infiltrates a biker gang and tries to like bring them down, because they're into drugs and all this other stuff. But I thought it was like really entertaining. Honestly, it's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I was entertained, and I was like, Brian Bosworth. They called him the Boz, and he had like almost like a mullet type haircut.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
There was a commercial because he and Bo Jackson.
It was like bleached blonde mullet, right? Yeah.
Like he and Bo Jackson were in the league at the same time in the NFL. A few years ago, they did a commercial together. So
gotcha.
Yeah. But I thought that was kind of a fun movie.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, so that's what I have been watching lately.
All right.
So now I guess we can get into.
Let's get into the movie review. Sky Captain: The World Tomorrow.
What is that?
You be nice. Commander Cook. Meet Polly Perkins.
Polly Perkins. I've heard so much about you. It's a pleasure to finally meet the competition. It's been a long time since Nanjing, hasn't it, Joseph?
Giant robots attacking the city. Famous scientists gone missing. Don't worry, Jude Law, Sky Captain Harry Joseph Joe Sullivan, and Gwyneth Paltrow's Polly Perkins are on the case. Join along as they search for the missing scientist and discover who is the mysterious Dr. Totenkopf. So, Sky Captain: The World Tomorrow is a movie that came out in 2004, and it's written and directed by Kerry Conran, and it's his only directing debut of the movie. This is a movie that if you guys seen past episodes, I actually saw in theaters and I fell asleep. So rewatching it, there's a lot of stuff that I did not catch because I slept through a bulk of it, and it's a movie that Andy hasn't saw. So
I didn't fall asleep.
He already did better than me, guys. So Andy, what did you know about Sky Captain: The World Tomorrow going into it, and what did you think of Sky Captain: The World Tomorrow?
I knew it had kind of like a Sin City look, although it's not really, it doesn't really look that much like Sin City, but I knew that it kind of like was all digital or whatever. I knew it had Jude Law. I knew it had Angelina Jolie with the eye patch. I don't think I remember that Gwyneth Paltrow was in it, and I didn't know that Laurence Olivier was in it. He's not really in it, but
that's so crazy, like resurrecting a dead actor, because you've done that like Marlon Brando for Superman Returns, and like I feel that came out after this movie, right. So it's interesting.
But I didn't know a lot about it. I mean, I knew it was kind of just a adventure movie, but I didn't really. I don't think I knew anybody that had even really seen it until you said that you fell asleep during
I did.
whatever. But you didn't fall asleep when you watched it at home.
No.
Okay.
It was all done on digital sets and stuff like that. So a lot of like how the Star Wars movies were filmed, the prequels were filmed with digital extensions and blue screen, and how 300 was filmed, and I think how Sin City was filmed.
Yeah.
So what'd you think about Sky Captain: The World Tomorrow?
I liked it. I don't know why you fell asleep during it, but I thought it was like a fun adventure movie. Honestly, I felt like it's not that long. It's not even 2 hours. I thought it moved pretty well. As I was watching it, so apparently it's a diesel punk movie. It's not steampunk, but it's diesel punk.
Interesting.
And I was like, what's the difference?
One's with gas and one's with hot water.
Steampunk is more the Victorian era, so Queen Victoria, and diesel punk is the interwar period, so between World War I and World War II.
Interesting.
That's the classification, but apparently it's a diesel punk movie. But as I was watching it, I enjoyed it actually quite a bit. My biggest problem with the movie is Gwyneth Paltrow. I thought she sucked, kind of. I didn't think she's a very good actress in this at all. She's the worst thing about the movie. And I wish, honestly, that Angelina Jolie would have been in more of the movie, because I thought her character was a lot more fun.
Interesting looking and stuff.
Yeah, and I guess she arrived to start doing Sky Captain of the World Tomorrow fresh off of doing the second Tomb Raider, and she was kind enough to bring her British accent with her. Nice. Which, I mean, and I honestly, I don't think it's a bad. I'm not criticizing her accent. Jude Law is okay. I mean, he's not amazing in the role, but I thought he's pretty decent as Sky Captain. And I read his father is in the movie. Did you see that?
No.
His father plays Dr. Kessler. Okay. I was looking at the cast, and it's like Peter Law is Jude Law's father, and I was like, oh. I don't even remember which one was Dr. Kessler, honestly, because there's like Dr. Vargas and Kessler and all these other people. But apparently he's in the movie. I think he's more towards the end. Maybe he's one of the people that's still alive.
Like when they're in the island and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the adventure. Like they go to Nepal, they go to like Shangri-La, they go underwater, they go to the island or whatever at the end with. And I thought it was interesting to use Laurence Olivier. Like I didn't have a problem with it, honestly, because they didn't. I can't stand that stuff. I love Rogue One, but I can't stand that CGI Princess Leia or that CGI Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yes,
I don't like that stuff.
Peter Cushing looks like rubber.
You want to talk about taking you out of the movie. When I see that, it takes me out of the movie. But I don't think using Laurence Olivier was like that at all, because you see him in photographs and then you see like just his head kind of
like almost like from the Power Rangers, like Gordon.
Yeah, and it's not even. I think they kind of made an effort to make his mouth move, and obviously some other actors like doing a sound alike for his voice or whatever. But it was so staticky and stuff. I didn't think that it looked bad. The only thing I was going to say about that was when they've tried to do that in the past, like I think there's a commercial with like Fred Astaire and John Wayne that they kind of try to shoehorn them into that. I think that stuff is kind of distasteful or whatever, but I didn't think that this was bad at all, honestly, because he's been dead since 1989, so he's been dead like 15 years. But speaking of that though, not having a bad guy at the end other than like Bai Ling, which is like this mysterious kind of robot woman, I felt was very anticlimactic. Okay. So when they got there, because again, we're spoiling it, so earmuffs if you don't want to hear. But at the end, when they get to the island, he's been dead for like 20 years. I thought that was.
It's
interesting.
I think it's a very interesting reveal. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. think it's a very interesting reveal. It feels very pulp to me, like radio drama kind of stuff. Like it felt very of that kind of ilk. So, but I do agree with you. It is kind of a letdown, and there's no big climactic fight minus the Bai-Ling stuff on the airplane.
I'm all for, because I thought that was a unique idea for they spent all this time trying to find Dr. Totenkopf, and when they get there, he's dead. But if you're not going to have him, you've got to have a really kick-ass sidekick kind of baddie. And Bai-Ling is cool looking, and she is like very mysterious, and she doesn't really, I don't think she ever says anything, right? She has no lines. But then the fight at the end, I can't remember, but the fight at the end, she just basically beats the crap out of Jude Law a few times, and then she gets pummeled by Gwyneth Paltrow, and then that's it. Like, I wish they would have had like a better kind of sidekick henchman or whatever. But really, those are my only big problems with the movie. Was Gwyneth Paltrow's terrible acting. I wish Angelina Jolie was in it more, and I wish that the ending wasn't so anticlimactic. But
so did the name Dr. Totenkopf did you catch that? That
no.
It means deadhead in German?
I did not. Okay. Deadhead, huh? Well,
so apparently, according to IMDb, I'm not a linguist.
Right.
Apparently, if you know, I didn't know where Bermuda was, so. I rewatched this movie, and I like it a lot better than I remember. Or
you were just sleepy when you saw it in the theater.
I think the movie is definitely slow. It's not like
I didn't even think it was that slow.
I feel like it is pretty. It has a very slow pace, and there's not a lot of dialogue in the movie. I feel like the movie is a lot of show and not a lot. I've wrote in my notes like it has the bare minimum amount of dialogue to kind of get everything across. There's a lot of scenes where there's no speaking and it's just action or things happening, which is film, show, don't tell kind of stuff. But I feel like you don't get a lot of. It's hard. Well, what am I trying to say? So there's not a lot of dialogue. So for me, it's kind of hard to kind of latch onto the characters and really like the characters. But you do get enough to kind of get like a backstory, like that Jude Law's character and Gwyneth Paltrow's character obviously had something going on, and maybe there's still a bunch of unrequited love a little bit.
Yeah.
Did Jude Law and Angelina Jolie hook up when they were together? Who knows? Kind of stuff like that. I feel like this movie is a Max Fleischer Superman cartoon brought to life. It's like it's of that style. It looks like a live action Max Fleischer Superman cartoon to me. Like the style, the robots, and everything. And I was kind of just hoping and waiting for Superman to come around and start like pummeling these robots, because it feels like of that, and it's so exciting to kind of see that. I do think the visual effects kind of stuff and the style kind of wears out its welcome a little bit. It feels, I don't know. To me, it just feels like it's a little too much, but I don't know what I would do to kind of change that. Yeah.
I was impressed with it, honestly. Now that you're saying you didn't feel like, or you felt like it was kind of slow or whatever, I actually, now that I think back, when I was watching maybe the first 15 or 20 minutes of it, I did kind of think that, because you're right. At the beginning, there is not a lot of dialogue, I remember. And you have Gwyneth Paltrow running around the streets trying to take pictures, and the robots
she's sitting at the desk with all the newspaper
and they don't really say a lot. So I remember that. And you're talking about Max Fleischer. I'm sure that you know that the robots were influenced by the Mechanical Monsters Superman Max Fleischer cartoon.
Oh, in this movie they were?
Yeah.
Totally,
so there you go.
Totally see it.
You could totally see it. So when I was watching it, I kind of wrote down in my notes what I thought were some influences of the movie. And I was wrong about some of them, but some of them I was correct about. Because you can obviously tell this guy's influences. And
I feel like I'm trying to... Did The Incredibles come out before this movie?
I think it came out after.
Because like there's a lot of going to the island and the look of The Incredibles.
It might have come out before. I honestly don't know.
I'd have to look that up, but I feel like The Incredibles were influenced by the same things that influenced this movie.
Yeah.
Like the rocket ship reminded me of the first Incredible movies. Going to the island reminded me of the first Incredible movies. So there's a lot of they kind of share the same kind of. Yep.
I wrote down what I thought were his influences. I wrote down Iron Giant, but that can't be true, because he had been working on this film for like 4-6 years or something. Well, to make his little trailer that he made, because basically the guy labored for, I think it was 4 to 5, 6 years, something like that, on his little home computer, his Mac, to make a trailer. And then based on that trailer, he was able to make this film. And like you said, it's the only film that he's made. But I got to give the guy credit. I mean, to slave over that long, just in an effort, because he really wanted to make a movie, and he finally got a shot to make a movie, and I feel like he did a pretty good job. I wish that he would be given another opportunity to make a film, but I doubt he was influenced by Iron Giant, because I thought the robots kind of looked like the Iron Giant, but since that came out in '99 and he'd already been working on it, it's probably, I mean, and again, when I was reading, it said they were influenced by the Mechanical Monsters cartoon from Superman. I wrote down War of the Worlds, James Bond, because they have the plane that crashes into the ocean and then suddenly it's a ship. The same kind of thing is in some of the Bond movies, or at least one of the Bond movies. The Lost World, which is a dinosaur kind of movie. King Kong, which also
with the island of dinosaurs, and probably X-Men comics. With what was the island they go to where Xavier begins to walk again.
You got me. Captain Midnight. Captain Midnight was a serial, which was like Sky Captain kind of thing. Raiders of the Lost Ark, because they go to Nepal. The Lost Horizon, because in that movie they go to Shangri-La. So all of these things, but apparently he was influenced by the 1939 World's Fair, like the whole kind of look of that. German expressionism films. He mentioned Dr. Mabuse, which is a Fritz Lang serial. Again, they said the plot apparently is similar to Miyazaki's Castle in the Sky, which I have not watched Castle in the Sky, and I meant to try and watch it before we filmed this, and I didn't get a chance to.
It's been so long since I've seen Castle in the Sky, I don't even remember.
And then apparently he had some of the cast watch some old movies to kind of go over how he wanted them to act, and he wanted Gwyneth Paltrow to be like Slim into Have and Have Not.
I can definitely see her trying to act like, those old 1940s kind of movies and stuff like that. I see that fingerprint on it a lot.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that's the reason why, because I feel like her dialogue is, she's wooden. I feel like Jude Law is a little wooden in the whole delivery.
Yeah,
but I feel like
think
they're
he's
trying
better than she is, but yeah, I agree with you.
I think they're trying to go for that style. But yeah, I definitely see that. And then we got a helicarrier.
Mm-hmm.
So the Avengers are in there, and we have Angelina Jolie as Nick Fury.
Yeah, totally. But I watched the trailer that he made, or the little 6-minute trailer. Yeah,
I didn't watch
on
that.
YouTube or whatever. And I mean, it looks like the first few minutes of this movie, just with non-professional actors. It's the same kind of thing. It even has the robots and everything kind of landing in the city and walking down the street or whatever. Yeah, I mean, again, I was super impressed just by what the guy did. Now, I know it took him years, but I was super impressed by what the guy was able to accomplish just from that. And I did watch the Mechanical Monsters cartoon, the Superman cartoon, because it's only 10 minutes or something like that, and yeah, you can definitely see that the robots are taken from that, and it's all intentional. It's not like he was stealing anything. I mean, he openly says, "This is the stuff I like, and I want to put in the movie." He loves King Kong. Apparently, that's one of his favorite movies, so he wanted to try and do that. And apparently, there's Easter eggs in the movie, which I didn't catch, but there's like a Godzilla silhouette at one point. There's like a King Kong somewhere. They show the wreckage of a ship called the Venture, and I guess that's the ship in King Kong. And also, supposedly there's like the wreckage of the Titanic somewhere or something. Again, I didn't know to look for these things, so I missed all of them. But I was reading after the fact and saw that. So I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. At some point, I'll probably rewatch this again, and maybe I'll be laser focused on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I liked it a lot more than I did. I thought we were going to kind of razz him about this movie, but I'm with you. It's like I said, I just have a completely different memory of the movie I experienced, and obviously, like I said, I fell asleep, but I just remember being uninteresting and just bad, and like I experienced the complete opposite this time around. Like I said, I do have some nits, and it is slow, but I actually kind of enjoyed it a little bit.
Well, when I was watching it, I was thinking, why does Adam dislike this movie? Because I was like, this seems like a movie that would be right up his alley with the whole, kind of adventure aspect. It has that kind of, it's not as good as Raiders or not as good as The Mummy or something like that, but it has that same kind of globe-trotting adventure. I was trying to rack my brain to remember what you had said about it that you disliked, and I couldn't remember, and I was like, I'll be interested to see what he has to say. But I guess that's the beauty of doing the show. Sometimes you rewatch things and you have a completely different take on them. Yeah. So I think that's awesome that you do like it, because I was like, what is he going to say, about how he didn't like it? But I'm glad that you did like it, because I liked it a lot. Yeah. I would watch it again for sure. Yeah, and like I said, I wish the guy would do something else. I'd
like to see a sequel, even like a radio, like podcast serial of that. Like, how cool would that be? Get Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow to reprise their roles and do like a radio serial, like a podcast I'd sign up for that for sure.
Give Gwyneth Paltrow some acting lessons before. No, I think Gwyneth Paltrow can be good. I just don't think she's very good in this role. I mean, I'd forgotten she won Best Actress for Shakespeare in Love before this movie, and Angelina Jolie was the Best Supporting Actress for Girl Interrupted. So you've got two Oscar-winning females in this film. But unfortunately, Gwyneth Paltrow gives a Razzie performance in this movie. Yeah.
And like you said, I like those kind of movies like of this ilk and stuff. And I like, Doc Savage cartoons. I love the Johnny Quest stuff growing up. I'm sure nowadays the Johnny Quest stuff is kind of frowned upon a little bit with like, having a East Asian sidekick and stuff. Right. But like you said, Raiders and all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad we gave this another shot, and I'm glad I had an opportunity to kind of rewatch it. And there's probably some scenes I'm going to go back and consume again and watch again just for fun and stuff.
One thing that did stand out to me, this is so stupid, but one thing that did stand out to me in the movie, at the beginning, she goes to meet one of the scientists, and they're watching The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
And they're talking during the movie. I was like, if I was sitting behind them, I'd be like, shut up. Yeah. So
the one big thing that jumped out to me was whenever they activated the radio tower to contact Sky Captain. Mm-hmm. That thing was so huge. Like you could see it. Like I think it was supposed to be like the RKO kind of radio tower and stuff. But that thing was so big. I'm like, how big is that thing? So that was my only kind of jab at the movie.
Nice.
All right. So did you look up what the critics thought of the movie?
I did. It is 71% fresh, but only a 46% audience score. Maybe they all fell asleep too.
Probably.
When they watched it in the theater. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars.
Wow.
Yeah. Roger Ebert,
I don't know if I'd do 4
stars.
Yeah,
it's not a 4-star movie to me, but it's a very solid, kind of action movie. And obviously he gave it thumbs up. Gene Siskel, unfortunately, had passed away by the time this film came out, so we don't get his review of it. And Leonard Maltin only gave it 2 stars. He didn't care for it that much.
Yeah. At least he didn't tell it was a bomb.
No, it wasn't a bomb, thankfully. No. But that's Sky Captain in the World Tomorrow.
Sky Captain in the World
so
Tomorrow.
what do we pair that with for
All
next
right,
time?
Yeah. So for the next time, we actually paired it with Rocketeer. And part of the reason why I picked Sky Captain in the World Tomorrow was because I wanted to talk about the Rocketeer. Because I really like the Rocketeer. It's a movie that takes place around the same kind of era in the late 1930s. It has the same kind of milieu a little bit around it. And it's directed by Joe Johnston, who would go on and create what I feel is underrated Captain America First Avenger, which I think is awesome too. He also directed Lost World, the Jurassic Park sequel, which wasn't that great. But I feel like it's of the same kind of milieu and it's of the same kind of time period. So it would be really interesting to compare these two movies together and talk about them in that context.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So if you've seen Sky Captain World Tomorrow and you feel any different, if you liked it or hate it, leave a comment below if you're watching us on YouTube or send us an email, realshame@gmail.com. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on air, we answer those on our following episodes, on our Wednesday episodes. Send us an email at that same email address, @realshame. Follow us on Instagram, like, subscribe, tell all your friends because that stuff really helps. And stay tuned next time because we're going to talk about The Rocketeer. See you next time, guys.